Fantasy football doesn't stop, baby. Here we are. It's the playoffs. Week 15. Dean Eske's back. Dave, how you doing, man?
Doing awesome, man. I got my boy Josh Allen's jersey on. He's a manimal, part man, part animal. 6 TDs. He brought single-handedly brought me wins in a few of my leagues this week. Hopefully, none of you guys out there in fantasy land were playing him this week because he just crushed it this week.
MVP. That's what he is. Yeah, I got the Bills Stadium behind me because I jumped off the Bears and I switched to the Bills. I'm rooting for the Bills now this year. Yeah, baby. Packers had a tough loss on Thursday, but it was an okay loss. Just that they couldn't get the ball back. Dan Campbell ran the clock out of him. It's what he's supposed to do. It's just one of those.
Yeah, it was a ballsy move by Dan Campbell, but I got to give it to him. That was the right move, though. So couldn't get the ball back. So it's a good move on his part.
It was. Do not let people get the ball back. It's kind of become a game of keep away. So it's just the way it is now in the NFL. But here we are. We have a big week, Dave, and no more buys, right?
No more buys this week, and that's playoff time, baby.
It's playoffs, and we have some injuries, unfortunately. Every week we have injuries. It's the NFL. Wouldn't be the NFL without injuries. Dave, why don't you break down some of these injuries?
Yeah, a couple of starting quarterbacks actually with some gruesome injuries, unfortunately. First one was going to be Derek Carr. He's out for the rest of the year. He broke his left arm, they're saying. So he's probably out for the rest of the year. And then
they said he's going to be back, possibly. He's avoiding IR. I thought it was his hand, wasn't it?
Broken left hand, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so I guess hand, which is good.
But he could be out because here's the thing: if they're not in the playoffs, which they're possibly going to drop out, especially after this week, they're going to play their 2 young quarterbacks to see who makes the team for next year. Is what I think. So it's very possible.
Yeah, definitely. And then some other guys that were injured here this week as well. We got Jonathan Brooks, who unfortunately, the young rookie who was looking good, tore the same ACL again in his knee, so he's out for the rest of the year. Raheem Blackshear, the other backup for Chuba Hubbard, he's out with a chest injury, and he could possibly be out for several weeks. So another bad injury for him. And then Aiden O'Connell, he was ruled out after being carted off the field with a leg injury, his knee, so he might be out the rest of the year as well. But they haven't really said anything more on that, though, so hopefully they'll give an update. He was going for an MRI today. So at least this week for sure he's going to be out, maybe longer. I'm thinking probably the rest of the year. So we'll talk about who to replace him with this week. Tight end Will Dissly suffered a shoulder injury. Justin Herbert suffered a leg contusion. He was limping around in that game last night. Another lucky Chiefs win too, by the way, last night. And then a couple other smaller injuries then too. We had Isaiah Garendo, who was filling in for McCaffrey and for Jordan Mason. He got hurt.
He's having a great game. A great game.
Yeah, he's having a great game. He got injured. Foot injury, they're saying. They're not saying how long he's going to be out for. He did not return the other night, though. So it could be that he could be out at least this week, if not more. So
he plays Thursday too, Dave. He plays on Thursday, so it's really scary. I mean, what's so terrible is we talked about how he's the top waiver wire pickup last week. Funny, he played on the Badgers, which is crazy, right? He wasn't even like the starter for the.
No, he was like a third string.
It's kind of like with James White, kind of like that same situation. How he thrived on the Patriots for a while. He's a gritty workhorse, and he's very possibly out. So good call on that.
Yeah, and that's all I had. Did you have any other ones that I left?
Did you mention Bucky Irvin? Did you mention Bucky Irvin?
No, actually, Bucky Irvin with the back injury. Yes, I didn't mention that one. Yeah, that one actually. I got to keep an eye on that. Hopefully, he's week to week right now, but they didn't really say anything about that. He didn't return, but they were up pretty good in that pretty well in that game, so they didn't really need to come back in. So we'll keep an eye on that one as well because he could be a stud down the stretch here if he is healthy.
Yeah, the Will Dissly injury sucked for me last week because I had his prop over and he started out really well and got hurt right away. So there it is against the Chiefs. Chiefs just find ways to win. If you're not winning by 9 points against the Chiefs, you're probably going to lose because they're going to get the ball, and that's what great coaches. They'll get the 4th and 5. It don't matter. They'll get the 4th and 5. It's going to be 4th and 4, 4th and 6, 4th and 5. They're getting it. It's automatic for a good team like that. And that's why I love how the Bills finished them off by doing it themselves at 4th and 4, and then going up by 9 points. That's how you kill the Chiefs. That's
definitely.
All right, well, let's get to and you did a great job there. I have no other ones. Waiver wire. Rashad White, I guess, in some of these leagues, 10-team leagues, maybe a 12-team, he might have been dropped. So I'd look for Rashad White because Bucky could be out. Quarterback Desmond Ridder. If you need him to stream, he would probably be starting this week, is my opinion. But I know O'Connell's not going to get on the injury reserve, and we thought it was a worse injury than it was. It was a bone bruise on his knee, so O'Connell might play too. I'm assuming it's Jake Haener after Carr, right? I would assume that.
They're saying right now, Jake Haener, they said is going to be the backup or the replacement for Carr right now.
Yeah, and Carr should just be put, like you said, probably shut down and see who Spencer Rattler or Jake Haener makes the team for next year. Running back Patrick Taylor for the 49ers. I have him and Keyshawn Vaughn, Dave. Funny how these guys get picked off scrap heats, and now they might be like the most important running back in these games. The Rams have a poor run defense, so one of these guys is getting some yards. I think they both split carries, really.
I like Patrick Taylor, actually, because Patrick Taylor came in and scored a touchdown this past week, so I like him, actually, over to Keyshawn Vaughn, actually. And he's been on their practice squad longer as well.
I agree with that. Running back Tank Bigsby was hot last week, and he kind of finally came back. It's like the Jaguars. If you run the ball good, you can play with a lot of these other scrub teams. You play the scrub Jets this week. Running back Sincere McCormick. Man, I've been waiting for that guy to shine. It was one of my sleepers in the draft, and he was completely forgotten about for a couple of years in the NFL. He played for UTSA. And now he's kind of like the featured back in the Raiders. He took the job.
Good, actually,
yeah. He took the job from a few guys there. I know that White was injured, but sometimes injury just breeds opportunity, and he's going to be a part of this offense now, I believe, here on out. Running back Henry Miller for the Saints got some action, so I think maybe you want to pick up Henry Miller because you don't have that Taysom Hill angle anymore. Wide receiver Ray McLeod was big for the Falcons. They were kind of in catch-up mode, though. I will mention that. Joshua Palmer was big for the Chargers. And running back, we can't forget about him. 2 weeks ago, Chris Rodriguez was really big for the Commanders. So, it could be speculative. I know Robinson is probably going to play, but he's not completely healthy either. So,
no.
Right. Yeah. And Rodriguez just had 2 touchdowns last game. So that was interesting. So, Dave, any other waivers?
I had Sincere McCormick as well. I like them. Like you said, he had 14 carries for 66 scrimmage yards. Madison's still out, too, with the ankle injury. So I don't think he's coming back this week. And then White's still out with the quadriceps. So I don't think he's coming back. I had Tank Bigsby as well. Isaiah Davis, actually, for the Jets, actually looked pretty good. With Breece Hall out, him and Braylon Allen are both nice pickups. Both of them kind of split carries pretty evenly. Those guys are both nice speculative ads. Jerome Ford actually is still getting quite a few carries for the Browns. He's actually a nice person to pick up then too. Snap rate, he was at 66% over their past 2 weeks. So he's actually been getting quite a few snaps. Him and Chubb have kind of been splitting them pretty evenly. I think they're just kind of working back in. The guy I really liked this week, actually, Jalen McMillan for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Young rookie. He was kind of hyped up a little bit at the beginning of this year. Now he's actually starting to come around with Chris Godwin out. They kind of leaned on him this last week. 2 touchdowns actually this past week. And he looked really good. And he's up and coming, a 3rd round pick for the Buccaneers. He played on almost 67% of the snaps actually this past week. He had 4 catches, 59 yards, and 2 TDs, and he had 7 targets this past week as well. So definitely add him to the list. Quentin Johnson actually had a big week this past week too with Vlad out. So that was another injury we didn't talk about, but he didn't play this past week. Vlad was a scratch with the knee shoulder injuries. And then another one too is Kenneth Walker, we forgot to mention as well. He was out with a quad injury as well. So hopefully he'll be back this week. Keep an eye on that situation. Zach Cabernet, definitely pick him up. He had a huge week this past week. He could be a league winner if Kenneth Walker is out again this week, and he could help you go on to the next round of the playoffs if he does play this week.
I assume most people own Charbonnet, but yeah, I mean, he's the handcuff for Walker for sure. So he's out there. Grab him for sure. He's been great. And Seattle's been really playing high. I think this might be their kind of fall sleep week against the Packers. So we'll see. Packers need this
Oh,
one.
another one.
They have more rest.
Yeah, definitely. And then Juwan Johnson, another guy too. He actually now Taysom Hill, he actually looked pretty good this past week. I think we mentioned him last week as well, but he had a solid week actually. Even without Derek Carr in there, he was looking pretty good. So keep him in mind for this week as well.
Yeah, if he's still out there, we mentioned him last week, but yeah, if he's still out there for sure. Let's go to sleepers. Anyone trending up for this week that's a non-starter? Wide receiver Luke McCaffrey for the Saints could be nice. I think. I mean the Washington Commanders. I would say because Commanders are still a little bit banged up with Noah Brown. We don't know if Noah Brown's going to come back. We mentioned his injury last week, but they're coming off the bye. Yeah, he's versed the Saints. And the Saints, what's funny is they traded Lattimore to the Commanders, so I found that an interesting little thing for this game. Rico Dowdle, he's already having a decent game for the Cowboys tonight. And, he's going to be great with the Panthers matchup. So you got to love that matchup next week against the Panthers. Running back Justice Hill versus the Giants. I think he's going to get the second half garbagey time. And Justice Hill could score a couple tutties as well as get some receptions for you. So that's going to be a good PPR move. Quarterback Sam Darnold against the Bears. And we've said Sam Darnold so much. And, dude, he's probably a starter, right?
He's a starter right now. He had like 5 touchdowns this past week. He's a starter.
Well, here's another thing, Dave. I mean, anyone that picked up Sam Darnold didn't put him as a starter. So you might have drafted like a Lamar Jackson and then put in Sam Darnold. I know you want to start Lamar this week, but if it's like a Patrick Mahomes and you have Sam Darnold against the Bears, with the way Patrick Mahomes has not been scoring, I'm afraid that I'm starting Sam Darnold over Pat Mahomes.
I know you almost have to. Like the good matchup. You got to look at matchups this week.
Yeah, I agree. To win this freaking league is what you're trying to do. It's the playoffs. It's time. And, any real league's going to have it. Even the people that don't make the playoffs can play for the first draft pick next year. I think that's the way to do it. Malik Neighbors should do okay versus the Ravens. I think they're going to be catch-up mode, but I could see him scoring a touchdown or getting some yards. Running back Kendry Miller against the Commanders is kind of interesting, too, because I think the Saints will have to just run the ball the whole time. If they don't, they're going to be in a lot of trouble. Believe it or not, drama queen Aaron Rodgers, Dave. He's on my sleepers this week because he's playing the Jaguars. And I don't know what we saw from the Jaguars last week, but it was the Titans, so I'm not really putting too much stock into it. This is probably a slump buster game for good old Aaron Rodgers. Maybe he'll take some shrooms afterwards or something, or some peyote. Maybe cover himself in a dark room for like 50 hours or something. Whatever it takes. But he might be the guy to play this week. Quarterback Justin Herbert against the Bucs. I think that's going to be huge. And the defense of Washington. I like the Washington defense against the Saints without Derek Carr. I think the Washington defense is going to pick up in a week like this, Dave.
I like him. I do like Sam Darnold. I like this week against the Bears. I definitely agree with you that he is a starter though. I think, and same with Aaron Jones. I think I like those matchups, but they're definitely both starters already. Actually, Kirk Cousins, this might be the get right game for him. They said he's going to start this week. They're playing the Raiders. Raiders really don't have a quarterback. They're going to be trying to play catch up mode, I think, because the Falcons, I think, are going to shred that poor Raiders D. I'm saying Kirk Cousins. I like Kirk Cousins this week. Tyler Algier too as well. He's been scoring touchdowns in his last couple weeks. I like him as a sleeper this week too. I like both of them. I like Gus Edwards against that Tampa Bay, even though that their pass defense is horrible for Tampa Bay. The defense as a whole. Gus Edwards is actually the main guy there now with Dobbins out. I like Edwards this week too as well. I know you said Justin. I do like Justin too as well, but I like Gus Edwards too. He actually looked pretty good last past week, and he's definitely going to get more carries going forward. So I like that matchup. I do like Bo Nix this week against the Colts. Colts and Broncos have been looking good. He had to drop that dime last week to Mims, that 93-yarder. That was just ridiculous pass. The more I watch him, the more I like him, actually. Bo Nix, I like him this week. And then a couple other guys. And then actually, the running backs for the Rams, I like Blake Corum, and I like whoever is starting for the 49ers. Hopefully Isaac Guerrero is back. If not, I like Patrick Taylor, though. So I do like that matchup for him. I like both the running backs in that game. I think they could score some points. I like Rico as well for the Dallas. I like that one. That was a good call. I actually like Aaron Rodgers. I like A-Rod as well. But I think I like Mac Jones. The Jets defense hasn't really stopped anyone all year. I think Mac Jones could actually have a solid day as well. Brian Thomas Jr., he's actually our starter already, but I like Tank Bisbee and I like Mac Jones. I don't think the Jets defense is that good. They're 3-10, so that tells you something right there. So I like
Return
that.
to the Mac. Return to the Mac, baby.
Exactly. Return to the Mac, baby. I think he has a good week this week. Jets defense isn't improving anything this whole year. So that's a good matchup. I like that matchup. I like the Justin Hill pick too. I like Rashad Bateman actually this week against the Giants too as well.
Mm-hmm. No, that's great calls. I like a lot of those too. And I added a few of those to my article, Dave. So great call. Moving on to bust, Dave. Who do you have for your big bust this week?
A couple of the busts. I don't like the Philly matchup against. I don't like Antonio Brown this week against the Steelers. That's tough. Saquon Barkley's still a must start, but he could struggle a little bit against that tough Steelers D. That he doesn't have his normal 150, 175 yard game. I think maybe they hold him to
AJ Brown. Antonio Brown's in some mental ward.
I meant AJ Brown. Sorry, AJ Brown. But yeah, so AJ Brown I think struggles a little bit against the tough Steelers D. I think Barkley is still a must start, but I think he struggles a little bit against that tough Steelers D. So I don't like that matchup. I don't like Josh Allen I think struggles a little bit against the Lions, even though he's MVP worthy and he's my animal of the week here. I think he struggles a little bit against that Lions D, even though they're a little bit banged up though. I like Josh Allen. I take that back. I'm sorry. I'm going to go with James Cook. Actually, I think he struggles a little bit against the Lions D. The run defense is actually pretty good, so I'm going to say James Cook is going to struggle a little bit this week against that tough D. And then the other one I don't like the Browns actually this week against KC. Even though they're playing at Cleveland, I think KC's defense is one of the top 10 defenses right now. So I'm going to say Nick Chubb and Jerome Ford, who I talked about before. I think they struggle a little bit against the Chiefs tough D this week.
All right. Good stuff. I like, AJ Brown for sure is a dangerous one, and you throw Russell Wilson in there as well.
Yep,
I don't love Russell Wilson in playing catch-up mode either. He's thrown a lot of picks in that situation. It feels like they might be in catch-up mode. I do think the Steelers D can possibly shut down the Eagles some. So this still could be a 3-point game in my opinion. I just don't know what to think about this game. Running back DeAndre Swift against the Vikings is rough. I don't like him. I don't like Jonathan Taylor against the Broncos either, Dave. I think he's suspect now. Too bad what happened to Jonathan Taylor. He was such a number one guy for a couple of years, and the injuries got there, and then he has no offensive line either. So a little sad. Our former
quarterback. He doesn't really have a quarterback either.
Tyrone Tracy against the Ravens. I wouldn't really want to start him either. Nick Chubb against the Chiefs is bad. I don't like T. Higgins against the Titans. I don't like the Bears D. I think the Bears D has worn their welcome out now, and you ain't going to score many points with them. They're toast. I'm kind of hoping they lose out so they could at least get a draft pick. See, the draft is for losing teams, and that's why this is good for the Bears. It's like, who we drafted? That's when they don't trade their number one pick for some idiot. That's
I gotta say though, it's 4 yards and 1/2. That was just brutal. That was the worst primetime game they could have had on for the afternoon game ever. That was the worst game ever to watch.
So bad. And I was stuck watching the whole thing at a friend's house that's a Bears fan too. And I'll tell you, it was laughable. We started playing like games with the kids, like gambling games. It was funny. It was his game, not mine. Nasty sleeper time, Dave. And I'll go first because I already mentioned a couple of these players, but I'm going with Quentin Johnson against the Buccaneers. Tampa, they just lost Antoine Winfield now. Their safeties are down to complete scrubs.
Their secondary is just toast.
It's so bad. I mean, it's going to be when they play any competent offense, they are really going to get scored upon, And I think this is a perfect opportunity to capitalize on that. I think that he's going to have a monster game, especially if Ladd McConkey's still out. I'll be looking at those props. But, Tampa lost everybody this year, and I was just pulling up their secondary right now. They lost Mike Edwards at strong safety, Jordan Whitehead's on IR, and now Antoine Winfield. I mean, they got Kavion Merriweather, just dudes that you don't even hear about. You also they also lost cornerbacks Bryce Hall and Troy Hill this year. Josh Hayes, another left corner. They don't have anybody. This is a really beat up Bucs team, Dave.
This is like a practice squad starting secondary.
Yeah. Yeah, it's Chargers or nothing for me when I'm looking. But man, I would take I like the Quentin Johnson this week a lot. Who's your sleeper?
Well, we talked about him here briefly too. I have two of them I really like actually. So I'm actually giving a bonus one since it's playoff time. I'm giving two D-Nasty sleepers this week. I'm going to give a bonus one. I'm going with Rico Dowell against the Panthers, who I really like. And I'm going with A-Rod, even though he's not one of my favorite players anymore, and not a very likable player anymore. It's such a diva. But I'm actually have to go with A-Rod too against the Jaguars. Two good matchups, and I think those two people could be league winners and playoff winners for you this week. Those are my D-Nasty this week.
Psycho A-Rod. Cooper Rush passed to Brandon Cooks for a touchdown. All right. Well, hey, I love how you went back to good old A-Rod, but man, I'd still be nervous starting him. I know he's on my sleeper list too, but this is like a situation if you have like, one of those quarterbacks, maybe you had Derek Carr, he's out. Maybe you have a bad matchup this week. I'm not going to say the Ravens because the Ravens are playing the Giants and you're not starting any of the Giants quarterbacks, but there's a chance that you need him. So that's Aaron Rodgers could be your sleeper winner this week. So I agree with that, Dave. Anything else we missed?
No. Good luck everyone in the playoffs this week, and hopefully you move on to the next round.
That's right. Good luck in your playoffs, and commissioners out there. Remember to reset your bottom six or bottom four or whatever you have, so they face each other to play for the first round draft pick and 1 through 4, 1 through 6 for next year. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of The Oddsbreakers. If you have any questions for us, feel free to tweet us at The Oddsbreakers. Email us at info@theoddsbreakers.com. Have a great rest of your week and go get some winners.